Hi, it's Leah from Made by Marley. I'm a furniture artist. That's what I do today. Have you ever done something just by chance? It's kind of experiment. You don't want to continue it because you fear it not working out. I think that that fear is something that we harness and we go for because you don't know what's going to work out. Today, I've made a tile top table just with paint chips that I put on my mix mat. So this is the table. I'll show you how I did it. Okay, so if you weren't watching last week, I decided to try an experiment. Now, I have seen people, furniture artists, do this before, but it was more of a terrazzo tile, so it was just kind of sporadic as opposed to, thoughtfully placed, if you know what I mean. I don't mean that the terrazzo isn't nice. I'm just saying this is going to be a little bit more thoughtfully placed, maybe a wee bit more like a mosaic. So what I did was I got my Annie-Sloan mix mats, and if you don't have a mix mat, you could use a Teflon baking sheet. You could try it on cling film or plastic, anything that you think that it's going to peel off of. Plastic containers was how I kind of thought about it. Put it in the bottom of plastic containers, that might work. So what I've done is I've put my paint on here, and you can see it's already chipping because I've moved this a couple of times, especially the orange. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this off in chips. So I can either use the orange or the colour on front to make my design. So I'm going to set this to the side and I'm going to show you the victim, which is incredibly gnarly and a little bit ugly. It's a little occasional table. It's got quite nice detail around here. The veneer's all chipping off and it's rough. It's been cleaned, but it doesn't look much better. This is what we're dealing with today. Why am I going small? Because I think that maybe there might be tweezers involved and maybe some fine detail in embedding the paint. What am I going to do first? I'm not going to do all of it. I'm only going to do to here. But horrifyingly enough, I'm going to do 2 coats of Annie-Sloan's white paint. And this is old white. So I'm going to do 2 coats of this. Horrifying, isn't it? But we need to have something that I think is going to...
I literally cannot recall the last time you used white.
I just want the chips to stand out, and I think this might be... I think what I might do at the very end is... I know I will. I'll probably put brown wax on it so that it is a darker shade of white. Sort of dirty white. So 2 coats of this, got to be solidly dry before we can get to any artwork. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole tabletop and do the artwork first, and then we'll work out what we're going to do with this, because maybe I might use some napkins, maybe I'll colour all this different colours. I don't know. It'll depend how the top takes me. I don't have a huge plan for the top. I think you can just do what you want to do on it, really. So I'll kind of roughly draw out a design and we'll see if we can make it what happen. So I'm going to get on, I'm going to do this, and I'll be back when this is dry with my 2 coats. Okay, so if you're going to attempt this and you think you want a design, you could use a big stencil, draw around it just to get your shapes, or do what I've shown you in another video, which I'll get Martin to link up there, which was just recent, and it was the koi carp table, and that's what to do if you can't draw. I'm just going to draw some very simplified sort of flowers. I'm not going to go crazy on this. My chips are all sitting here on my table ready. I've got my white paint because that's what I'm going to use to stick them on. It's just sitting there, and I've got a sort of medium-sized brush. So there's not going to be a huge amount of detail because that's the size of brush I'm using. Okay, so I always think with these tables, how do you do it? Oh, by the way, there's a bleed through here. I'm not bothered about that because I'm gonna yellow this up and make it aged at the end anyway. So it's just adding to what I want, and this is just a base coat anyway. So let's decide, because I always think if you do flowers this way, then they're not going that way. So let's try and kind of do something that kind of incorporates all sides leading to the middle. So let's just kind of do start with some stems and some leaves as we go around. Now, when it comes to the chips, I will get Martin to put up a camera so that you're not having to endure. I mean, this might be a very quick video for me, but it might be just the same length as usual. It depends how far I decide to go with it. So you can see I'm not really kind of like, I haven't even really thought of what the kind of flowery element's going to look like yet. I'm just doing this first so that it's kind of, I'm wondering if we could get 2 in here, or is it going to look a bit crushed? Let's do this. And do that one that way, and that one that way. Right, flower heads, let's do something very, very simple. So let's start with this shape and do something like that. Everybody can do that. Just want to be able to have that one coming past there. Here, so it's a sort of diamond with a sort of, what would we call it? A diamond and a sort of moon. This one's much lower than all the rest, so we'll do a big one on here. So diamond, moon. And this one's much longer, so we'll do diamond, moon. Diamond, moon. And one last one, which we'll have to make shorter, so we'll make our diamond here. Oh, that one's not very suitable. What could we do next? Could we do something? Could we do some sort of leaves? Just fill in. Where are they coming from? Well, that's the only point. Let's just fill this out with some nice fancy leaves. Right, I think I might have, depending if I've got enough paint chips, we might have to paint this in by hand once we've done it all. But I think I'm going to have some kind of border. I always think I finished out with borders. I think this one here looks a little bit small. Do you think they all look a bit crushed in, Martin?
I think
I
that's your guide, and you'll.
I think I might have one coming out.
There you go.
From this one here, because there's a negative space there that isn't filled. Right, I'm happy with that. Right, what we're going to do next. So you have to use the same colour all of the time. This is why I never use cans of paint, because the paint is everywhere already, and Matt's just touched something and he got covered in cans of paint. So let's just, I'm using pencil so I can see it, but you want a generous but not too thick layer around your leaf. Yeah, you're going to do it section by section, because if not, it's just going to get all messy. So I want my leaf colours. So let me just flip this round and start having a go at whether it comes off big or small. That's one down. Now I want some smaller ones for the edges. And I think this is just like putting together some mosaic, really. It will look aged because we're obviously peeling this off and they look like little chips. So, and I think that'll add to the sort of kind of rusticness of it. Put that part in there. And really, this is all you're going to do. You're just going to paint a shape. Whoop, something stuck there. Doesn't matter if the table gets messy, because this is going to be covered with paint. We are going to sand all this back. Yeah, I mean, I've never done this before, so I mean, don't know if it's going to work really, but experimenting is good, isn't it? I think I'm going to need a bit more paint on there. I think that's the key. It doesn't also matter if you get paint on top of this, because as I said, we're going to be painting over the top of it as well. So I think it just has to make sure that everything is embedded. Because when you've got paint over the top of this, you don't want this to move. So I think that's probably, I mean, maybe a little bit of an edge here. And it's just peeling off my mix mat really nicely. Whoop. It's just, it's a fiddly job, but somebody's got to do it. So I might need to get myself tweezers. I'm not the most patient person in the world, so we'll see how I go. Martin, you can revisit me later on and see if I've still got my sanity.
Mm-hmm.
Where did that one fall to? There it is. Stick that in there. Right, so that's leaf 1. Yeah. Now I'm going to do leaf 2, but I'm going to use different colours here. So this is a mix of blue, green. This one's quite a thick one. I don't want it as thick as this. Now, depending on what way I apply it, some sides are blue and some sides are green, because when I put it on my mix mat, I then kind of mixed some colours over the top of it as it was drying.
I'll come around this side.
I'm only going to do one flower, Matty, on camera, and then we can put the cameras up. And mosaic tiles are not cheap either, so this is a good way of... I need to make sure that that one there that has actually embedded in the paint. Sorry, but I'm just going to set the paint on here. No, it's me. This one was always going to be quite interesting. I just hit upon it last week, and if you haven't seen that video, I'll get Martin to link that one above as well. Here. Now you can mix and match, so I think I'll put some of this green here too, and in amongst it. Break some of this off. If this was anything else, by now I'd be saying, oh, but I like doing things like this. So. And you can see...
Get a good audio book on and just while away many an hour.
Yep. I think it'll end up looking very interesting at the end. Either that or it won't, as I said.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be one of those things where people will look at it and go, how did you do that?
Well, maybe.
Because...
it will be embedded, because obviously it's going over the top with 2 coats of white. That's why I'm saying it doesn't matter if a bit of paint gets on it. And one more in here. Right. I'm not going to do any more on the leaves, and I'm going to quickly, because I've got a lot of colours I can use with the flowers, so I can mix and match them. Maybe one tiny little chip. In here. Do you know what I think I might do? I'm going to do this to keep it all on. Just as a sort of, see, because this one here is very thick and I'm a bit scared that it's not glued down. Let's make sure I've got plenty of glue underneath this one. Well, it's not glue, it's paint, but I'm just going to do this just now, just to keep it all together. We know what's under there. I'll do the same with this one as well. Right. Flowers. I'm just going to twirl it and do this flower so I'm not leaning in the wet paint. Well, flowers, I've got loads of choices. I think I'll start with this nice reddy orange. Get some of this off. You don't have to use white. I just thought I'd use white because I thought it would, since I've never done this before, I thought it might help show, it would show up. But I mean, don't have to. Made that one a wee bit untidy. Get rid of that one. Stop here. And a tiny little pointy part at the top. I think when I sand it back as well, it might look quite distressed because obviously, you know, some bits are thicker and some bits are thinner. Just tidy that part there up. Right, my other colour, I'm going to get some of this red. Anyway, you can see what I'm doing. I'm not obviously trying to reinvent the wheel here. Well, maybe I am, but I am going to go on. I'm going to get Martin to put a camera up, and we are going to do this, or I am going to do this. You're not yet.
While you listen to some lovely music.
While you listen to
Well, maybe not lovely.
Whatever Martin's chosen.
Whatever my choice is this week.
Whatever Martin's chosen for today. I think I'm going to do the other side red as well. That's it then. I'll go on and do this. Messy process. Okay, so Martin's captured all the footage of me putting on the paint chips, and you saw me at the end. I gave it 2, maybe 3 coats over the top of it all, but I also did it as I went along, just making sure that it was all covered. It's kind of raised, so that should maybe help us sand it off. The paint chips I peeled off of here and I put them all in here, because I think we'll do something like a terrazzo. I'll maybe get a glass vase and turn it into a terrazzo tile vase.
They look magic, don't they?
Yeah, they look really nice together. That's how you do it normally. You get them and you crunch them all up together. Apply a layer of thick paint, sprinkle these on, put your paint over the top, and that's what I've seen done before. I've never seen anybody quite do this one. So where I just said to Martin, you know, I don't think the fear of doing something should stop you doing it, because if this doesn't work out, I'll say to you, well, that didn't work out, but what could we have done instead? Or I'll do something else. So there's no real reason for being frightened about things. Now, what have I got here? I've got some sandpaper. I've got different grades because I don't know how much I'll have to sand, and I've got a brush to wipe away my sand and dust. I'm hand sanding this. I've only seen this done a few times, and people have used big electric sanders. Now, I do have that, but I'm not really into doing that. And plus, I'm going to have to be a little bit more. It's not like they're covered in paint chips and I'm revealing them. I'm going to have to reveal them kind of maybe slower. So I'm going to do it by hand. I don't like sanding because I'm really a severe asthmatic. So I'm going to put on my safety equipment. You can still hear me through this, but if I sound a little bit muffled, Martin will turn me up in the editing. So I know I'm going to be look beautiful in a minute, so it's okay. For these kind of things, it's not worth it. You've got to be safe. So glasses on, sandpaper. Now let's just start with I don't want to go in too heavy. I'm thinking I'm going to use a 120 to start with. Now, as I said, I've never done this before, so we just don't know. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time. Let's get rid of that dust. To reveal it all. And maybe, you know, if you have done this sort of terrazzo tile idea, then maybe sanding it is the way to go. But for me, this is the way I'm going to do it, because I just, I know I've got the stem of the flower here, so. This is going to take me a hot minute. It really is. This isn't going to be something that I'm going to be doing quickly. So I think what I might do is to save Martin being around this dust as well, I think what I'll do is I'll get Martin to put up a camera and I'll just stand away for a while and you can see it all being revealed. Do you think that's a good idea, Martin?
Okay.
All right, then that's what I'll do, because it's going to take me a hot minute, I can already tell, and I might need a thicker grade sandpaper, which I don't have. So I'm going to get the lovely Martin to find me some. Okay. Okay, it has come out really nice. Points of interest, if I was doing it again, I still probably would hand sand it because we've got a design on this as opposed to the terrazzo, but I'm going to do some of the terrazzo chips down below it, just the random ones, so we'll see how easy that is. Where the veneer was underneath, it's kind of, when I sanded it, it's taken it off, but because it looks very distressed, I'm just keeping that because I like it. Now you'll see me, and there's a part in the video which is quite, I think I should pass this on. I'm not usually in the habit of wiping with a damp cloth. I usually brush all of the time. I always brush, not wipe, because I know that chalk paint's live. But for some reason, for some random reason, today I thought, well, yesterday I thought, I'll just give it a wipe with some paper towel and some water. And obviously, the thing that I always think will happen, happened. And what happened, you saw it kind of, the paint smearing. So all I did was heat it up with the heat gun and I dried it off. And it's been left since last night. And I think it'll be fine when I put the wax on it. I am going to be aging this back with some crackle stamp. I always say that, then forget, but this time I will be. I'm going to age this off. I really am very happy with it. I've taken the sandpaper right into the edges. I'm not sure whether I'm keeping this edge, this colour yet. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to flip it over. Now I'm on a carpeted surface. So this is where we're at, because I need to get under here for delivery. But also I want to do this here. And I thought this is fabulous because my paint chips can fall into here and I can get them all at the end. So what parts am I going to do? Now these are the little paint chips, if you remember, from yesterday. And I've got my white paint. Now I've also got some Emperor Silk, which is red. I've got Florence, which is a turquoisey blue, and I've got Tilton, which is a yellow, because they coordinate with the main table itself. Now, it's the same process. I mean, you're not seeing, I'm going to make the larger sections with this terrazzo tile. Now, this may be slightly awkward, but I'm just going to live my best life here and just do it and see what happens. So I'm putting the paint on quite thick. Yeah, like so. Let's see what we can do here. See if it'll stick to there. It probably won't, because it's kind of, I'm only going to work in small sections. So that's enough. I'm going to slightly tip my table to the side, and I'm going to go for it. I think the throwing motion, that one there's a bit big. I think throwing it might be the way to go. And you're just going to sprinkle all of this around here. And I might do these sides. See these sides as well? I might do them as well because I think I'm going to have enough paint chips. Now, let's just kind of catch up with this side here. I think that one there is going to be too big. I can already see my error. And then what I'm going to do is, because they're the little chips, I'm just going to let it dry. And just, I mean, I don't think there's a process for this. I think you should just have fun. I'm going to be enjoying this because I quite like doing things like this. It's kind of like glitter, but glitter you can only really whip out at Christmas time. With this, we can just do it with gay abandon.
All year round.
Yeah, we can just paint chip things. Now, I think that is probably enough on that. So that's going to be speckly. But let's see if we can do the legs, these legs speckly as well. See, I'm just getting too giddy with this now. Let's see. I can do this because I'm trying to get the largest surface area. Hey? Not this one. Oh, Martin's just did a repair. Martin's whispering, not that one. Martin's just did a repair on that leg. Right, let's not do that leg.
One leg I didn't want you to touch.
Oh, hang on. That's Martin's. It's nobody ringing. It's not one of our children. That's one of the alarms he sets for me to take my medicine. If not, I forget. I come over here and I forget all the time. Right, not the leg. Martin is fixed. So you get the process. I'm going to do all the legs white and this part white and this surround white. And then I'm going to let them dry, do the 2 coats of paint over the top. But in between this, I'm going to use my 3 colours to paint in between all the other sections. But I'll kind of just do 1 coat of all of this. And I'll come back and show you the 2nd coat of it. But am I enjoying my day's work so far today? Yeah, because this is good fun. I think I should put more up here. See, before you know it, you'll come back, the whole table will be covered in paint chips. Because I like to overgild the lily. I mean, I think it's quite good that the table's got a little kind of lip, which means that it doesn't matter if it gets kind of messy either. Does it, Martin?
No.
No. It's a win-win situation. I don't think it'll be as fun with the sides, because the sides, obviously, I'm going to have to... I think you can maybe tap them on as well. You don't have to throw, but I think throwing's more fun. Right, okay, so I'm going to get on and do this. And, because, I mean, you don't really need to see me do it. These are quite big. I don't know about this. I noticed that one of the things that happened on the tabletop was if they were too big and too white, too chunky, then when I went to sand them, they kind of sanded right out of it. So, that's a word to the wise here. Oh, I'm loving this. Right, okay, so I'm going to get on. Do you want to see one more side, Martin? Is that going to... I'm just watching. I'm not touching the leg that you didn't want me to touch. That's typical, isn't it? I could hear him going, not that one.
It's like
not that one, Leo. You fool. I really, really want...
I should have put a big red flag on it or something.
Yeah.
Like...
I do want to paint down here, though, because imagine if it gets delivered and it looks ugly. You don't want ugly when delivered. Right. Let's get some more on here. Oh, I've even got them on that side as well. See, they'll say, look, she's finished it to a high degree. Right, I think I'm going to have to go back. Oh.
The whole pile went right over the top.
Stop it, Matt. Right, okay. I think they get what I'm doing here. I'm literally just having a bit of fun, and I think this will really make the table work. I'm really, really happy with the table. I mean, you don't need to use white paint. Don't ask me why. I thought I'd use white because I thought it would show up. But I could have did black, or I could have did navy, or I just wanted something for all my chips to show up. I think it looks more Mediterranean in white, so for once I'm okay with it. Right, okay, I'm going to get on and going to do my legs. All my legs, this, and the side of the table. I'm also going to make sure that I paint down under here and make sure that there's no evidence that this table hasn't been painted correctly. So that all has to be done. But I can do that off camera. So I'll be back shortly. When I do come back, we'll do some sanding, and we'll do some sanding of this, and then we'll give the main colours that I'm going to put in between a second coat. Okay? I just want to show you what I did up here. I had the white underneath to embed the chips, but then I put the turquoise over the top, and this is what it revealed. And I'm making it aged and kind of sanding certain areas to give it that aged look and worn look as well. So the likes of here, when I went round the bend, I got a bit exuberant with my sanding. I'm trying to get a bit that I haven't sanded just to show you. I don't want to go too heavily into this because I'm not wearing a mask right now. So it's just the same principle as I showed you before. You just go easy, go slow, and just take your time, and it just reveals it.
Like magic.
Yeah, you do have to take your time. I mean, this probably isn't going to end up a very long video for you, but these sorts of, each step takes a little bit of time. You just sand and sand until you get it to where you want it to be. Oh, and I've been a bit coarse with that side as well. See? So that's how that ends up looking, yeah? And it's lovely and smooth. Now the feet are a different kettle of fish. So I'm going to flip it here. I left one here. So you can see this is how the feet look. So I'm just going to kind of quickly, I'm just going to put my mask on, so if I'm talking a bit funny, you know what I'm doing. Put my glasses on as well. It's the same deal. And I'm going to age see all of this. I'm going to sand it and age all of these parts as well with my sandpaper. That's how the sides of the legs look. And I'm going right down here to make sure this is all kind of sanded and looks worn. But that's how the legs look. Yeah, I'll show you a front part. It's just the same thing I'm showing you over and over again, but it's just so you get an idea of what it's like. These parts where I'm going to flip it again for this part. These parts were awkward. It's really easy on a flat surface, but it's not as simple on a bumpy surface. So I would recommend, if you're doing this, pick something flat, because it's a little bit more tricky when you're doing it. So I've got to do all this next and get this all sanded. And once this is all done and this is all aged, this part here I think is going to be the trickiest, because again, it's not flat. I kind of got into my stride, sort of round circly strokes. But I think you can see how this is probably going to end up. And once I've done all this, and I've aged it, and I've got it all worn and distressed, I'll get Martin to come back, because I'm going to use the crackle stamp on the top and age it, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to wax it. But I am really pleased with this piece. I really am. I really like it. Do you like it, Martin?
Yeah, I do.
It's unusual, isn't it?
I think it's a technique that you'll use.
Yeah. I think as well,
increasing degrees of success, you know.
I'm so keen on the coloured chips. I just think there's a part where I just thought, oh, that's really nice. See here with the little ones? So maybe there's a lesson learned in that as well, of little chips as opposed to bigger ones. So more crushing it. But I really like it. So, but it just takes a little bit of time to sand. I'm not going to do too much sanding with Martin filming, because Martin's not wearing a mask and I don't want his lungs to be sore. So I'm going to get on and do this myself, and then I'll get Martin to come back over and we'll do the crackle, and then I'll show you how I intend to wax it. Okay, so it's all been sanded now. The whole lot, the whole table has been sanded. Yeah. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add, these are from IOD, they're called Vintage Textures. And I'm going to do a kind of mix both. I've just got some stays on here at the side on my table, and I'm stamping the whole stamp with ink. But when I apply it, I'm only kind of lightly scraping where I want the texture, just kind of, you know, here. I'm not, see what I mean? I'm not stamping it one big firm sort of kind of stamp almost. I'm just kind of, I'm maybe a wee bit heavier on the edges and then just a wee tickle on the rest, just so it's just enough. Just going to ink up again, and maybe just put some round about here. So again, just tickling it. It's just I'm trying to avoid these unnatural, because these are unnatural edges. I'm trying to just use the sort of middle. That stops that sort of squareness that goes to nothing, because that's a tell that it's a bit contrived that it's been put like that. So we don't want that. Right, a little bit more ink. Just again, a bit firmer on the sides, but watching those edges. You don't want to be touching up those edges. But here, oh, whoops. I think we're going to have to maybe put a screw in the tabletop. Martin fixed it last night, but believe it or not, it was actually glued on to begin with. We glued it and we left it, but I think, Martin, you're going to have to put some magic on it.
Don't worry, I will.
So that's that. And maybe, because if it was crackled, maybe have some round. Yeah, just a little part. I think it's more important that the edges look like they've got a bit of crackle on them. There's a bit there, because I think maybe it would move in. Sorry, Matt, I'm moving around all over the place. Now, I'm not sure about this one. This is the one that makes it look scratched. This one. Let's just kind of do some of this and just tickle this one as well, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. Just a wee bit of a tickle. Again, trying to avoid the sort of manufactured kind of edge. And you can see I'm not inking it every single time. I'm trying to get 3 or 4 goes off of it. That saves it being so dark and looking a bit unnatural. Maybe some more here. Now I won't be doing these on this on the legs. It's just up here on the tabletop. I'm not going to try and get a dark patch here. You don't want it looking contrived, and that is the way to really get it done. Now, I think that's probably enough of that. Now, if you use stays on and you want to seal it straight away, if you apply some heat with a heat tool, what it does is it just cures it. I've never really had a problem with my stays on ever running, but it's just one of those things. It's just been straight put on. So before we seal it, we just need to make sure that it's got a bit of heat on it, just so that it's nice and dry and it's not going to run into the wax like that. And that works this works for Posca pens as well, if you do the same with Posca pens. Now, I have some clear wax, Annie Sloan's clear wax, and I have a clear wax brush, and I have a cloth, a clean dry one. Now, this should really bring it out. Now, I'm going to have to hold it because it's a little bit wonky now. You're not going to instantly see because it's on white, but you are. When I start to add the dark wax, you will. Why am I using wax? It's just to kind of bring out the colours. Waxing always does that much better than. Now, before I go any further, I'm just going to run this wax around this edge. I decided not to paint this edge. I decided just to keep it as it was. Now remember, I say this every time I use wax, so you must It's just for anybody new or any newbies on my channel. You cannot apply dark wax without putting clear wax on first. If not, the dark wax will just take over. So you have to be kind of mindful of that. Now, another question that came up the other day, and I saw it, and it was a bit like, it was about waxing and sealing. And I said, there's 2 rules of thumb here, and this is the rules. You can seal your piece, and for extra protection, you can wax it. Yeah, you can't do it the other way around. Yeah. Anti-Sloan's wax a little bit different. If it's cured, you can generally go over the top of it with things. However, that's the general rule of thumb, because I don't know what top coats and things are, or even indeed what wax you're using. But the rule of thumb is this: you can seal it and wax it. You can't wax it and seal it, because the wax will repel the sealer, and then you won't have a proper sealed piece. So, and if you're dark waxing, you always clear wax first, because dark wax can take it, once it goes onto an unsealed surface, it'll just be dark. You'll lose all your detail. You need that clear wax to be able to buff it back and give it that aged look. Now, I'm only going to put a little bit of this on, says me, but yeah, end up it's really brown at the end because I just go crazy. But I've got just a tiny little bit of dark wax on my finger, and what I'm going to do is I'm just kind of, sorry, Matt, it started in a really weird piece, please. I'm just going to age it up a little bit. Just kind of dirty it off a little bit, just age it up. I'm not going into it too far, just little parts. I mean, if you want, you can put it on that bit of wood. So yeah, I'm just aging it up a little bit. I'm probably not going to go into the centre with it. Sorry, I'm jumping around again, Martin.
That's right.
I'm probably not going to go into the centre with it. I'm just gonna, you just kind of massage it in until it looks like that's where you wanted it. Now, if you wanted to add it in here and give it a little bit of darkness, you can, and then come along with a cloth and just wipe that out of there. That'll give it another bit of depth. But that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to clear wax the bottom half as well and put a little bit of dark wax on it, just where I think it might have aged. Now, I don't know if you can remember this table at the beginning, but it didn't look anything like what it's ended up. And that's a really good makeover when you, at the end, you can't recognise the piece you started with. I always think they're the best ones. So yeah, just massage that in. So we're going to go away now. Martin is going to fix my table for the second time. And I'm going to clear wax the bottom. We'll get this fixed up. We'll get it on the back wall and we'll get it staged. But I think we can say that doing that has been a total success, because I really like it. Okay, can I just apologise as well? I look like a total midden. I'm not very tidy today. Anywho, we're moving on. Right, what did we learn in this today? I'm warm. Yeah. Nothing goes. There's not a single part of my face.
But you're warm.
Nah.
Is that time of year, so?
I kind of feel like this. I feel like creativity is a lot about pushing the boundaries of the fear of the unknown. I mean, you don't know if it's going to work, but what's the worst if it doesn't? And the thing is, it could work. And then if it does kind of work, then you've got some basis to tweak to get it to really work. So this is the first time I've ever done this. Maybe if I just started with the chips and did a sort of, you know, just like I did on the bottom, on the top, just to begin with, just to get an eye in, that might have worked. I took a step further and decided to do a mosaic. Do I like it? Yes, I do. Bit heavy on the sanding maybe as well. Not sure about that, but I do like the overall look. I really do. And I think this will sell because it's unusual, it's quirky. Yeah, it's got that sort of mosaic, vintage, kind of old looking look about it now. It's had its fix yet again. This time it's never coming apart. And yeah, was it difficult? No. You saw, if you didn't see the week before, I'll get Martin to put the link up here to last week's video where I was busy doing something and I had leftover paint. I smeared it onto my mix mat and I just left it there. I left my paint for about a week not because it wouldn't have been usable in a week, it was just it took me a week to get back to it. So I think if you live in a hot climate, you'd be good to go in a couple of days. But mine's was a week. So, and then I just chipped it off, just peeled it off the mix mat. So nothing difficult about this. This is a good one to try, something fun. Bit messy, we all enjoy that. So that's really it for today. Matt, do you have anything to add?
No, okay, from from my point of view, I could see the journey that you went on as well. I think what a significant point that I noticed was at the midway point as such, when you collected up all the little bits in the little tub, and they were much smaller.
Yeah, the terrazzo look.
Yeah, I think that was, you know, if you'd had that at the start, maybe it would have come out different. But again, it's all that, it's that journey, isn't it? You know, like
I think
a voyage of discovery.
Pattern. Yeah, and I think I wanted some kind of formula to my, not a sporadic application, but I do think if I had to repeat the process again, I would have went for the sort of terrazzo look and just maybe tried a more complicated thing to do the next time. But hey ho, I don't even know if
That's
this
for next time.
Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, I know there are videos out there of people who furniture artists have done this before, but I've never watched them, so I don't know if this is right, wrong, or but this is how I did it. So thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all the subscribers, all the comments, everybody who presses the like button, everybody who shares our videos. And if you could do all those things again this week, we'd be really, really, really grateful. Okay, so see you next Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.